Here's something that might surprise you. Right now, more than 40% of American adults are deficient in a single vitamin. And among people over 50, that number climbs even higher. Some studies put it closer to 70%. This isn't some obscure micronutrient found in rare foods. It's something your own body is designed to make. And when you don't have enough of it, the effects touch nearly every system in your body: your bones, your muscles, your immune system, your mood, even your brain. Most people who are deficient have no idea. They chalk up the symptoms to just getting older. And that's exactly why this matters so much. We're talking about vitamin D. And if you're over 50, there's a very real chance your levels aren't where they should be. So why does this hit people over 50 so hard? It comes down to a few things happening at the same time, and they compound each other. First, your skin. As you age, your skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. A 70-year-old exposed to the same amount of sun as a 20-year-old will produce roughly 4 times less vitamin D. That's not a small difference. That's enormous. Second, many older adults spend less time outdoors, especially during winter months or if mobility is limited. And even when you are outside, if you live above the 37th parallel, roughly a line from San Francisco to Richmond, Virginia, your skin can't produce meaningful vitamin D from November through March. The sun simply isn't at the right angle. Third, vitamin D is fat-soluble, and it's absorbed through the gut. But as we age, gut absorption tends to decline. Even if you're eating the right foods or taking supplements, your body may not be absorbing as efficiently as it once did. And finally, if you're carrying a little extra weight, vitamin D can get sequestered in fat tissue, making it less available to the rest of your body. Put all of that together, and you can see why this deficiency is so widespread and so easy to miss. Now here's where it gets really important, because the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency are exactly the kind of thing most people brush off. Fatigue is one of the most common. Not just feeling a little tired, we're talking about a bone-deep exhaustion that doesn't go away with rest. If you've been wondering why you feel so wiped out even after a full night's sleep, low vitamin D is worth looking at. Bone pain and muscle weakness are another big one. Many people assume their aches and pains are just arthritis or the natural wear of aging. And sometimes that's true. But vitamin D plays a direct role in calcium absorption and bone maintenance. Without enough of it, your bones can become softer and more prone to pain, a condition called osteomalacia in adults. Your muscles also need vitamin D to function properly, and deficiency is linked to weakness and a higher risk of falls. Then there's mood. Low vitamin D has been consistently linked to depression and low mood in older adults. The connection isn't fully understood, but vitamin D receptors exist throughout the brain, and there's strong evidence that adequate levels support mental and emotional well-being. Frequent illness is another flag. Vitamin D is a key player in your immune system. People with low levels tend to get sick more often and take longer to recover. And here's one that almost never gets connected to vitamin D: slow wound healing. If cuts and bruises seem to take forever to heal, your vitamin D status could be a contributing factor. None of these symptoms scream vitamin deficiency, which is exactly why so many people go years without realizing what's going on. The only way to actually know your vitamin D level is to get tested. The test is called a 25-hydroxy vitamin D test, sometimes written as 25-OHD. It's a simple blood test. Your doctor can order it, or you can often request it at a lab directly. Here's how to read the results. Conventional medicine generally considers anything below 20 nanograms per milliliter to be deficient. Levels between 20 and 29 are considered insufficient. Many functional medicine practitioners and researchers argue that optimal levels for adults over 50 are between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter, and some go higher. If you haven't had your levels checked recently, this is genuinely one of the most useful things you can do for your health right now. Ask your doctor to add it to your next round of blood work. It's inexpensive, widely available, and the information is incredibly actionable. Now let's talk about how to actually fix a deficiency. We'll start with food, because that's always the first line of defense. The honest truth is that very few foods contain significant amounts of vitamin D naturally. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are your best bet. A 3.5-ounce serving of wild-caught salmon can contain anywhere from 400 to 1,000 IU of vitamin D. Canned tuna and sardines are more affordable options and still deliver meaningful amounts. Egg yolks contain some vitamin D, particularly from pasture-raised chickens that have had access to sunlight. Certain mushrooms, especially those exposed to UV light, can also be a decent source. You'll sometimes see UV exposed on the packaging. Fortified foods like milk, orange juice, and cereals are another source, though the amounts added are often modest, typically around 100 IU per serving. Here's the reality check. Even if you eat fatty fish 3 times a week and consume fortified foods daily, you're unlikely to hit the levels many experts consider optimal for adults over 50. Food alone just can't get most people there. This is why supplementation is so commonly recommended for this age group, and it's worth having an honest conversation with your doctor about it. When it comes to supplementing vitamin D, there are a few things worth knowing. First, the form. You'll see vitamin D2 and vitamin D3 on labels. D3, also known as cholecalciferol, is the form your skin naturally produces and is significantly more effective at raising blood levels. Choose D3 whenever possible. Second, the dose. The official recommended daily allowance for adults over 70 is 800 IU, but many researchers and clinicians consider this far too low, especially for people who are already deficient. Doses of 1,000 to 2,000 IU daily are considered safe for most adults and are a reasonable starting point if you're supplementing without recent blood test guidance. If your levels are significantly low, your doctor may recommend a higher therapeutic dose to bring them up more quickly. What you want to avoid is megadosing without monitoring. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means your body stores it rather than excreting excess amounts. At very high doses over a long period, it can accumulate to toxic levels. This is rare, but it's a real reason to test, supplement thoughtfully, and recheck your levels after a few months. Take your vitamin D supplement with a meal that contains fat, olive oil, avocado, nuts, because fat significantly improves absorption. Here's something a lot of people don't know, and it genuinely matters. When you take vitamin D, especially in higher doses, it increases calcium absorption in the gut. That calcium needs to go to the right places, your bones and teeth. The problem is that without adequate vitamin K2, some of that calcium can end up depositing in soft tissues and arteries, which is not where you want it. Vitamin K2 acts like a traffic director for calcium. It activates proteins that guide calcium into bones and teeth and help keep it out of your arteries. The specific form that does this most effectively is called MK7, derived from fermented foods like natto. Many vitamin D supplements now include K2, often in the MK7 form. If yours doesn't, you can take a separate K2 supplement. A dose of around 100 to 200 micrograms of MK7 daily is commonly recommended alongside vitamin D. As always, if you're on blood thinners like warfarin, talk to your doctor before adding K2, as it can interact with those medications. So here's your action plan. First, get your levels tested. Ask your doctor for a 25 OHD blood test. Second, make sure fatty fish and other vitamin D-rich foods are showing up regularly on your plate. Third, consider a daily vitamin D3 supplement, ideally paired with K2 in the MK7 form. Take it with a fat-containing meal for best absorption. And in a few months, retest to see where you stand. This isn't complicated, but it is important, because when your vitamin D levels are optimized, you may notice real differences: more energy, better mood, stronger muscles, a more resilient immune system. These are the kinds of changes that can genuinely shift how you feel day to day. And remember, while everything we've covered here is well supported by research, your situation is unique. Work with your doctor to figure out the right approach for you. This information is meant to empower that conversation, not replace it. If this opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, I hope you'll take that first step and get your levels checked. It's one of the simplest, most impactful things you can do for your health after 50. If you found this helpful, please give it a like. It helps more people find this information. Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you ever had your vitamin D tested? What were your levels? I'd love to hear from you. And if you want more practical, science-backed health information designed specifically for people over 50, subscribe to VitalEdge Life. We're here every week with content that helps you live better, feel stronger, and age on your own terms. We'll see you in the next one.